And welcome to the Alouettes Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros. Where if you use the code FlightDeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. So head over to royalretros.com, use the code, save some money, buy some CFLPA merch, buy some Football Canada merch, and a whole lot more. I'm Tim Capper. You can find me on X and Blue Sky over at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Greetings and salutations. I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
You sound so regal.
I'm trying. Lord knows I'm trying. Trying to bring a touch of class to this podcast, if I may.
Yeah, Lord knows I can't do it. How are you? It's been a fun couple of days for us, as if anybody hasn't watched the Flight Deck Live recently, but it's been a fun couple of days. But it's also been a very few interesting days, to say the least. Also,
yeah, safe to say that Mother Nature is on one, because we go from day one, me getting a sunburn, to holiday Monday, freezing my butt off, and everything else in between. I mean, it is wild. Like the weather has just been wild for this training camp. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, you're going from one extreme to the other, and you just don't know what to expect. I mean, you got to make sure your weather app on your phone is up to date, and make sure you're checking that constantly, and make sure you don't even know how to dress sometimes. Do you need the winter gear? I mean, which is crazy to think about in late May, but do you need winter gear? Do you need summer gear? Do you need sunscreen? Do you need a toque? Like, this camp has seen a little bit of everything. Umbrella too. I mean, you name it, you got to have it with you when you head to camp this year.
yeah, Mother Nature's been on a bender, all right. Oh my God,
I'm telling you.
I too did not expect it. Again, something that we haven't done in our very short time doing Flight Deck Live. We've already had 3 shows this season, and check them out. Please check them out for camp. They've been really, really fun, and we've been glad to do them for you guys. So
yeah, and they are archived. So I mean, if you're not able to catch them live for whatever reason, not a problem. Head over to our YouTube channel. You'll find them there. Also on X and Facebook Live. Make sure you check us out as well. And again, if you're on YouTube, please leave us a like. Leave us a comment. Make sure you're subscribed as well. I mean, all that stuff really helps us and just makes it so much easier to give you guys that content that you so richly deserve.
Yep, and they're now available in audio too, so you can head over to any podcast location or to our main page. So
there you go.
We're offering it every single way that we can for you. Let's talk about day one. We talk about day one. Let's talk about the intra-squad game.
Let's talk about that.
It slightly different, less obviously because of the threat of weather. It was finally announced that it was just over 2,000 people that did show up this year for the intra-squad game, which is, even though it is half of the amount that it was, almost a little bit less than half of what it was last year. As obviously Mother Nature played a huge part in that, but still, either way, anybody who was there got to see a great show because despite the guys who weren't playing, who were either being, they're waiting for it to play this week or starting on Monday, etc., or whatnot, it was a great show that the Owls put on, and very interesting to see some of these new names, which could potentially be a part of the roster this season.
Yeah, I think it just only served as an appetizer for the upcoming preseason games, because once again, in an inter-squad game, you're playing against your teammates. So, I mean, I'm not saying you're not going to go full bore, but at the same time, you want to show out a little bit. You want to make the coaches sit up and take notice of you, but in a good way, not in a, I just injured my teammate because I had to get that QB sack in, or you make an outstanding highlight reel catch, but then, you just tore your ACL in the process and doing it. I mean, that would suck. I mean, and it unfortunately it's happened in other camps where players have gotten injured during their intra-squad game. So it is something that absolutely positively can happen, and it's tough because you want to show out. You want to, especially when you got fans that are there too. Like you want to put on a show. You want to entertain. You want to let people know what get them talking about you. And the best way to do that is to make some outstanding plays, but just don't kill yourself in the process. I mean, I guess it's finding that balance. And I guess that's why a lot of the players, again, that participated in the intra-squad game, they played, obviously, and they did some nice things, but they obviously weren't going to blow their brains out in the process, which I'm very thankful for.
Yeah, I am too. It was on the opposite field that it was last year, which we had some post-game comments, which we have to talk about because that was very interesting about this particular field. But the city of St. Jerome and the team were able to set everything up in the main parking lot, including instead of busing everybody over to another location for their post-game concert series. It was all right there in the main area. So you had food trucks, you had a boutique, the Owls boutique was set up there, and it seemed to it was a good setup. Everything there for fans and kids alike, et cetera, et cetera. And but the main thing really was the game, man. It's I was happy to see that overall the all the offensive was everything offense? Yeah, all was there was no defensive scoring, but everything basically 40 points was put up between all offensive plays, which I think was higher than last year, which is good. But it's just a matter of how all these points are scored and stuff like that. It was really interesting to see because, obviously these guys have been in camp for a little over a week at that time. And they've gotten used to each other. I'm sure there are days where the defense dominates and there are days where the offense dominates. And we did see that later on in the week after the intra-squad game. But it was great to see basically how both the offense and defense seem to be coming together as a team, but also as separate entities. For it's most likely going to be it could be a very interesting season, obviously, when it comes to the Owls once the regular season does start.
I mean, it really is something that is so fun to see. I mean, to see where this team is coming together. And it's funny, we've talked about in the past, like how this defense is the bread and butter of this football team. But this offense, like especially in 2025 right now, I know it's early. I will state that it is very much still, we're very much in the early part of the football season, but this offense has really, really looked impressive. And I'm talking from quarterback to receivers to running backs, offensive line, like everybody on this offense really seems to be on the same page, really seems to be clicking, and really seems hell-bent on producing. I mean, to me, that's the recipe for success right there. I mean, you got a killer defense, an outstanding, potentially explosive offense. Special teams, I have no doubt in my mind, is going to be great as well. But I mean, there is really so much to like about this football team, Tim. I mean, and I'm just excited to see where it's all going to happen. Because let's not forget, it's not done yet. Like there's still some really good football players that, for whatever reason, unfortunately, are not going to make this team. And to me, I want to see. We know who's going to make this team. It's, for me, as always, it's the bubble guys, the guys that we're not too sure of, the guys we were invited to camp for the first time. Did they do enough to warrant a spot on this team, whether it's practice roster or active roster even? I mean, who stood up? Who's going to stand up? Who's going to make the case? Who's going to make life, a living hell for this coaching staff, who ultimately are going to have to tell a bunch of guys, sorry, not this year. It's going to be really interesting. And I think we're going to see that. We've already seen a little bit of it during the intra-squad game, and these next two preseason games coming up, we have to see what's doing with this team. We've got to see what kind of depth truly is there for the Montreal Alouettes.
And a lot of people who may have not been able to go to the intra-squad game, they hear your comments, and what people need to understand too is that this was also done with a lot of the name players not playing. It was really, I think, the first time that we got to see Austin Mack. And I think we heard, and this really isn't a spoiler or anything, but this is something that we found out after the game. Was it after the game or was it the day following at practice? But either way, we found out that Mack, I think, had, was it 17 targets alone during the intra-squad game? Which, when you think about it, is absolutely nuts for an intra-squad game for wide receiver one. You know what I mean?
Giving people what they want. They clearly want Le Big Mac, and I think Davis Alexander is more than happy to sling the rock in his direction. And again, that's not to say that he's not going to be looking for the other guys as well, because I mean, the connection with him and Tyler Snead cannot be denied. Cole Speaker is going to be making plays left, right, and center. And he didn't play in the inter-squad game, but I'm telling you, Tyson Philpott, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but he's back, folks, and back like he never left. And I am 100% here for it.
I agree. And as I said, there were some great, again, it was just back, it seemed to be just back and forth. In my opinion, I think the offense got the most of the defense in this game itself because, there was at one point where the Davis Alexander led off 3 consecutive drives that scored points off of turnovers. And that bodes well, in my opinion, because, as a statistical guy that I am, Cliff, keeping track of what the Owls do on first drives, et cetera, and what they do when it comes to scoring after a turnover. Yes, it's only a 3. It's 3 yards. You got to get 3 downs. You got to get 10. And I think there was a few things lacking last year when it came to scoring after getting turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. I just love the way this looked. I really, really did. And it just, I think to me, it really bodes well for what could actually happen for this team coming up in the regular season. But that's not to say that the defense didn't have a good game either. I mean, sure, they showed it. I think they showed it a little bit more on Mondays during Monday's practice, which we'll talk about. But, the defense did look good too. They forced these turnovers. That's the thing. People need to remember, they still may be playing each other, but they the ones who still gave the offense the chance to score or to try and score. And I thought it was cool. And I don't know if many people know who weren't there on that third turnover where they only scored a field goal. They only scored a field goal. What they did is, even though I think the ball was intercepted on the opposing 30, they switched it around and made the offense go the other direction. And they still did very well, but again, I only came away with 3. So but still.
No, without question. And again, we've come to expect this over the past few years. Ever since Noel Thorpe came back to be the defensive coordinator for this team, this defense, like this Alouettes defense, has to be top tier, and they are. There's no two ways about it. For the past few years, that's the one thing you can take away from this team. If nothing else, you can take away the fact that this team does have a very stout, very dangerous, very aggressive defense. And you can tell that these guys too, like, they want to showcase what they can do, but obviously not hurt their teammates. I have to believe they got to be really looking forward to Saturday's game against the Ottawa Red Blacks, because at least this way now they can, they can lay somebody out if they want to. They can go, full on and just, take somebody out and just put the hurt on somebody that's not one of their teammates. So again, just for everything we've seen so far in the camp sessions that we've been a part of, this defense really, really looks phenomenal. And I expect nothing less, to tell you the truth. There's a lot to like here, folks. Whether you're a defensive guru or you're all about the offense and the touchdowns and all that stuff, there is something for everybody to like on this football team. And, well, quite frankly, you should like all of it. But I mean, everything about this team essentially looks really good. And let's not forget, this has been one of the better teams of the Canadian Football League over the past couple of years, and they're not content to rest on their laurels. I think maybe they took some of the comments I made last year to heart a little bit. Maybe I'm crazy in thinking that, but when I said that the latter part of the season last year, they were coasting, maybe it's just like, that's not our style. That's not who we want to be. That's not who we are. And we're going to show you. And I know it's early, but they're showing a lot. I'm not seeing any coasting here. I'm not seeing anything lackadaisical. I'm seeing them take those opportunities, like you talked about, the turnovers, and do something with it, putting points on the board, which even in an intra-squad game still matters. It still counts for something. It still shows the effort, the desire to be on this team and to make an impact. Those are things that I do not take lightly, and was very, very, very happy with what I came away with on Saturday.
I think what's interesting is you go from whether it be go from the inter-squad game to get to the practice, the next practice session, is that you can see the difference in some of these players. Even though on practice on holiday Monday, some people were having having therapy days. Um, I think it still goes to show that even one day of practice can change how you see a particular player play, whether it be through the defense, whether it be through a particular quarterback who may play a little bit different after how poor he may have had, or how he felt that he had a game in the inter squad game. It's right now in camp. It's next day up. It really is, because you can go from one extreme to the next, from one day to the next, or from one session to the next, which is what we saw also. There's a huge difference in how some of these players and quarterbacks, as example, played from the first half of the inter squad game to the second half. Complete difference. And I'll give the example. It was Macbeth, Mikhail Bethel Thompson. He got in the second half, he got a chance to play with the ones, and it showed. It showed that what he could actually do, because after throwing a pick in the first half of of the game, he came back and he threw a touchdown. So I mean, it could be like a snap of a finger. Things can change literally just like that.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Club Bethel Thompson didn't forget how to play football. I mean, he did bring the Argos to a Grey Cup a couple of years ago, so he knows exactly what it takes to be a winner in this league. And he knows his role. He knows that he's number 2 on this team, and he seems to be embracing it. I won't say relishing it, because I don't think anyone truly relishes to be a backup quarterback in this league, or any league for that matter. But I think MBT sees what's ahead of him, sees the potential of this team as a whole, and he knows he's going to have his place within this team. And he's definitely taking the opportunity to, I think, not only better himself, but better his teammates. And I'm sure he's also lending a lot of his experience to guys like Caleb Evans and Jonathan Senecal, even David Alexander to a degree can learn a little something from him as well. And I think that's great. I think these guys do a great job of getting each other up and motivating them, and helping make each other better. Like they say, rising tide lifts all boats. Essentially, that's what it is with this quarterback room right now. I mean, we know David Alexander is a man. There's no question about that. But for MBT to come in and be that sort of steadying force for him to, so that, Davis doesn't have to be the hero every single time, or feel like he has to do everything all himself. No, you've got a lot of talent behind you and backing you up and backing your play as well. So that's going to be a tremendous relief for him. And I think for MBT, a chance to show that, hey, I can still go. I can still do things. You call my number, I will be ready.
Who are the guys that really stood out to you from the inter-squad game itself? Because there were a few, as I said, from first half to second half, there was a huge difference, I think, for a few guys. Our running back one, if Walter Fletcher was not playing. But still, I'm sure you saw some guys that really stood out in that game, and that I'm sure you want to give their accolades to.
Yeah, let's okay, since you started led into it with the running back situation, I'd be remiss not to talk about what Stevie Scott has been able to do. In fact, throughout the entire camp, he has looked phenomenal. I mean, he's definitely looked poised and ready to go. And then Sean Thomas Erlington is just continuing on from his absolutely outstanding second half last year, and has just looked almost unstoppable, which to me is fantastic. Like, we talk about the 3-headed monster that was the Alouettes backfield in 2023, and to a lesser extent in 2024 as well, but it didn't feel like they got quite the love that they did back in 2023 when they won the Grey Cup. But I look at this potential 3-headed monster of Walter Fletcher, Stevie Scott III, and Sean Thomas Erlington, and I say, wow, you got some horses there. You got some dudes that can run the rock, and Alouettes fans have to be excited about that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people don't know Stevie Scott from a hole in the wall, but I mean, if you were paying attention last year and even a little bit into the second half of last season, this guy can go, and he's just been proving himself over and over again. But STE, my goodness, I mean, his bread and butter last year was more special teams, but he got the opportunity to showcase what he can do as a running back and did not disappoint at all. And just looking at his camp this year, he's having himself quite the camp. So I tell you what, we talk about how important this receiving core is for the Alouettes. We talk about how important it is for Davis Alexander to be able to just grip it and rip it. And he's going to go, dropping dimes like a bank teller. But, if he has to turn around and hand the ball off to somebody, He's got not one, not two, but three absolutely outstanding running backs that he can hand the rock off to, and they are going to do some pretty incredible things. So
And
definitely paid.
Steve, I was kidding. And Steve's got had the run of the inter squad game, and we're not
Mhm.
talking one of those, ticky tack, don't touch me type of things, runs that you usually have during practice. This was a legitimate parting of the waves by the O line, and him going off for at least 25 to 30 yards, and that obviously to me that was the best run of the day.
Yeah, he hit the hole perfectly, and just he was off to the races, and that's what you love to see. And when Sean Thomas Erlington too, he's not afraid to lower his shoulder, and I find he's more that bruising tailback that you find, like, not to say that he can't turn on the jets as well, but I mean, I think he's got that right mix of, not afraid to lower his shoulder and lower the boom on somebody, but at the same time, if you need him to, hit the afterburner, he can do that as well. So I mean, and let's not forget Walter Fletcher. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He's still the top guy when it comes to the running back room in Montreal. But all three of those guys, I think, have the potential, if used properly in this offense. I think all three of them have potential to do some pretty outstanding things this year.
And we saw Fletch return on Monday, so we got to see him on holiday Monday, and he looked good. After I don't know, the way it made it, everything made it sound, it was a scare. I mean, it would be too for if you leave and Danny Mac has to go into the locker room to find out what's going on. But still, how about besides Mac? And one thing we didn't notice, by the way, during the inter squad game itself, I think it's the inter squad game itself, that a lot of the players were slipping about the 30-yard line for whatever reason. And this will go into our talk here about what we heard about from our post-game conversations with a few people, a few players about the field, but they were slipping there at the 30. And that was a little bit concerning in my thought, because you don't want one of these guys slipping during the inter squad game and potentially hurting an ankle or worse.
Yeah.
So nothing happened, thank God. But from there, when we talk about the wide receivers, anybody else besides Austin Mack and his 17 to 20 targets really stand out to you from the inter squad game?
For me, would have to be Jordan VZ. And I want to make this clear. I talked about this on Flightdeck Live, and it kind of irked me a little bit. Whoever it was that was doing the PA announcing, I don't know if they just found some random dude in St. Jerome to ask him, hey, can you read some names off, kind of thing. I don't know, but it's VZ with a V. He was saying Wheezy with a W, and I don't know, maybe it's a linguist,
like George Jefferson's wife.
Yeah. So, nobody under the age of 30 got that reference, right?
If somebody does, please please make a comment that you knew who I was talking about.
And the fact that I know too, that dates me as well. Thanks, by the way. But all right, back on topic. Jordan VZ had some really, really outstanding catches, and he has been grinding too in this camp and looking really sensational. So he's
29-year-old Jordan VZ, by the way.
Oh yeah, spent some time in the NFL. I think also in the UFL as well. So I mean, it's funny to think of a 29-year-old as a rookie, but essentially that's in the Canadian Football League. That's what he is. It's his first year. So, but yeah, looking phenomenal too. I mean, he just fits in this offense very nicely, and I am truly excited to see what he's going to be able to do in the preseason games, because I think that he's getting a lot of attention. People are giving him a lot of looks, and I think people now want to see what he's like against actual competition, like under the bright lights. Like, what can this kid do? And yeah, he made some absolutely outstanding catches, and just looked, nice. Like, just looked really nice with his route running and his hands and everything. Like, checking off all the boxes as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we talk about the main receivers, and Charleston Rambo is someone else too who's picked up right where he left off and has looked sensational. And
even I'd even say he looks better.
Could be. It's funny. We talk about the sophomore jinx in football, and yes, Rambo is going into his second year. Jeffrey Conte Arcu is going into his second year. There's a lot of guys that are going into their second year on this team, and it's funny with the Alouettes. it seems like going into your second year, it's like a reverse jinx because we talk about this a lot, but Tyson Philpott in his second year in the Canadian Football League, he wins the Grey Cup. So I mean, there is sophomore jinx is just theater of the mind. It's just in your head, but I mean, it's also what you do with the opportunities that are given to you. And Charleston Rambo, he's another one that is just like absolutely sensational. I mean, there's going to be a lot of talent. There's going to be a lot of guys fighting for the ball, fighting for the opportunity to catch a Davis Alexander or McLeod Bethel Thompson touchdown pass. And that's exciting to see. Like the fact that you've got so many weapons at your arsenal. I'm sure Davis Alexander has to be salivating at the prospect of throwing for 5,000, maybe even 6,000 yards. That doesn't sound so crazy when you look at the weapons that are on this team. The potential of 4 guys having 1,000-yard seasons is not so preposterous. It is something that is very much within the realm of possibility. Heck, maybe even 5, depending on how you set this lineup. I mean, there's just so much talent on this receiving core that it's going to be tough. And the sad thing is there are a couple of guys that probably are not going to make the cut, or if they're lucky, they get on the practice roster and have to sadly hope for an injury, which obviously nobody wants. But I mean, you also want playing time too. You want to show that, hey, I had a phenomenal intra-squad game. I played outstanding in the preseason. I deserve to be on this team, not just on the practice roster. I need to be on the field and doing things. So it's going to be a dogfight as far as I'm concerned. And to me, that's what's going to make this team great, is the fact that you've got so many studs competing and wanting to showcase what they can do. And it just makes for better football. It makes for more exciting football, and the fans are going to be loving every second of it. And all this is doing, though, is just wetting the whistle, like really building that intensity and that excitement for the preseason game, which I know a lot of people don't seem to get excited about preseason games, but I'm excited because I really do want to see what a lot of these guys can do. We know what the established guys can do. I want to see what these relatively unknown players can do in a true football atmosphere.
This is one of the, it's funny. I bitch about this every year, but this is one of the few times where I don't mind paying for a preseason game. This is a preseason game I don't mind that I'm paying for. You made this interesting comment on Flight Deck Live about something that you noticed specifically during the intra-squad game about the defense, and about a couple of guys that were there. And it really made a pretty big impression on you. And it not only did that, but it also made you muse basically what this team could be like this season for the defense. Besides, some of the additions that we did get with Sean Oakman, example. But it wasn't just Sean Oakman. You weren't really talking about Sean Oakman, though. You were talking about specific guys that you really made the comment about. And for those who happen to miss Flight Deck Live, one, shame on you. But what was the comment that you made?
I looked at just looking at the defensive line and just how ferocious it is. And we've talked a lot about how Danny Machocha, from the moment he's gotten here in Montreal and taken over as general manager, it seems like the defensive line is his white whale. It's something he's just constantly pursuing, constantly trying to get and make better, and constantly tinker with, and keeps trying to find that magic formula. Even after winning a Grey Cup, he's still tinkering with it. He's still changing and trying to find ways to improve upon it. And I look at what this defensive line is looking like so far in 2025, and my jaw is just on the floor with it. I mean, you look at guys like Isaac Adeyemi Berglund, Sean Oakman, Lawal Ugalak, Dylan Wynn. I mean, the list goes on. But there is some absolute talent, and just guys that you can tell are going to be absolutely dangerous. I mean, when I think about this entire Alouettes front seven, which also includes the linebacking core, guys like Tyrese Beverett, Darnell Sankey, Jeffrey Kante-Arku, I think has a true opportunity to become a starter in the second year of his. When I talk about the sophomore jinx, I mentioned him earlier, but I mean, he has grown by leaps and bounds from what I've been able to see. He has just been so coachable, and you can tell he really gets it. He's definitely been paying attention to the film. He's paying attention to the teachings of his coach, Greg Quick. My God, I mean, he's just got a football mind, and he sees things that I think a lot of other people don't necessarily see. And when you think about this front seven for the Alouettes, it is going to be absolutely, positively dangerous. And I am beyond excited. Like when I think about this defense, like I said, a Noel Thorpe defense to me is a thing of beauty. And I don't know how, even last year, I was like, okay, I don't know how you can make this better, but if anyone's going to find a way, it's going to be Danny Machocha and to a lesser extent, Noel Thorpe. And sure enough, what we've seen in camp sessions so far, I mean, this defensive line, these linebackers are just an absolute threat, an absolute unit. And again, if you're not a defensive guy, you don't really, maybe you don't understand all the nuances behind it and everything. Just come to one of these sessions and just watch how these defensive coaches are educating these guys and making them go through reps and making sure that they understand why they have to do what they have to do. And I mean, you can't argue with the results. I mean, like this group is looking more and more phenomenal, and again, just getting me even more amped for the season to get going.
Yeah, it was again, like we were saying before at the beginning, it was the great experience for the intra-squad game. I found one of the most interesting comments that was made to us was actually on Holiday Monday when we got to speak with some of the players post-game. It was the actual comments about the field itself. And if everybody remembers the story from last year, it was that the reason why they originally had started off with both fields being used. The one that's being used this year was specifically for the kickers up until a point. And then they had everybody else over on the secondary field. This year, they switched just to one field in general. Sometimes the kickers will go off to the second one. What was funny to hear is that last year, we were told that the issue is why they switched from one to the other was because that the one field was not up to CFL snuff. It didn't pass the smell test, so to speak. What's interesting to hear from what we heard from a couple of players is it's completely opposite this season. The field that we are currently playing on, a lot of the players do not like. Sounded similar to what was the comments that were made last year, but because for whatever reason something is wrong with the other secondary field which was their primary last year. Is everybody keeping up? And they are not using that one for main camp. What? Because you and I kind of guess that there may have been some addition of the rubber pellets on this other field. A couple of the players we talked to did agree with our assessment that people were slipping, like we mentioned earlier. What has to be done here, Cliff? Because, right now they're in camp. The guys are already starting to hurt. I guess that's the best way I'll put it. Not getting hurt. They're starting to hurt. And this is only camp. So, would it be different if they were playing on like brand new turf, like they were able to do this year in Calgary because they put a new turf down at McMahon? Oh, for sure. But why can't this situation, if it is really a quote unquote situation, why can't it be fixed? Why can't there be a resolution? Because you can't keep switching. If the CFL says yes one year and says no the other, they're going to be right back where they are going to be next year if that's the case.
Yeah, and let's not forget the city of Saint Jerome has training camp for 3 years. Well, this is year 2 of the 3-year agreement so far. I mean, are you finally going to get it right the 3rd year just before the agreement ends? I mean, again, they can always renew it, but still, it is concerning, especially when you got players that are, doing everything they can not to get hurt. Because as I talked about, you don't want to overexert yourself, but at the same time, you want to show out. You want to do everything you can to impress, but at the same time, not blow your brains out or, God forbid, blow your knee out in the process in doing so.
Yeah.
I mean, it does come back to the city of Saint Jerome because they're the ones that maintain these football fields. And if I'm the Alouettes, I'd be, quite frankly, demanding better out of these facilities. I mean, you can't just, invite the Alouettes to come and have their training camp here and just provide the bare minimum. I mean, this is a professional football team that deserves the best possible. And I'm all for the initiative of, promoting the city of Saint Jerome and getting more people out to training camp to really help make the Alouettes Quebec's football team. But at the same time, you got to protect and take care of Quebec's football team if you're going to do that. Like if you're going to have a training camp at a location and it's not your home stadium or or like for the case of the Alouettes at Olympic Stadium, where they would normally be and where they have their offices and everything set up, you got to make sure you provide the best possible so that these guys do everything they can to be a part of this team and not get hurt in the process. And clearly putting down more rubber pellets isn't necessarily the solution. And one can argue, well, maybe they need to change their cleats. Maybe the players just need to be a little more cautious. But at the same time, you're there to play football. If this field isn't up to snuff, then you got to fix that. You got to, and it's not one of those things like, well, okay, no. Next year we'll be okay. Well, we'll make sure we're good for next year. Don't worry. Well, that's next year. We're in the here and now. We got to be, you got to be thinking about making sure your investment is well taken care of. And let's not forget, this is an investment too for the city of St. Jerome to have the Alouettes here and help promote the city and help promote the CFL and the Alouettes and everything involved in that. I mean, it all comes together. It's all part and parcel for what you want to do. So my only hope is that, yes, nobody does get hurt in the process of going through a training camp, and that the city does take note, because we talked about how there was a lot of misses last year, and they've managed to, recoup from those mistakes and do better this year. And I give them full marks for doing so. But when you got players that are, just, as you said, starting to hurt, and yeah, you get therapy days, you do get, training, you do get all those things to help get your body right. But at the same time, it's still a job interview. You're still trying to win a spot on this football team, whether you're a veteran, rookie, what have you. You're still trying to become a member of the Montreal Alouettes in 2025. And if you don't have the proper tools to do so, it just makes life tougher for everybody involved: coaches, players, administration, what have you. I mean, it's all about what happens on the field. And when it comes to training camp, you got to put your best foot forward. And I'm talking about everybody, not just players, but everybody that's involved really truly should be putting their best foot forward. And I just hope it's something that can be remedied before it's too late.
I agree. And I'm trying to remember if this was commented on last year, and then we'll move on from it. That I think, despite the turf at Percival Molson being 13 years old, by the way, which was the same age that the turf was at McMahon, and supposedly the one at McMahon was in worse condition. If they don't mind, because I will admit, I think you'll agree with me that there's a little bit more sponginess on the Percival Molson turf than there is at St. Jerome.
Oh, yeah.
And it just what changes have to be made. And again, it's get it right. You can't keep flip-flopping back and forth, but I guess we'll see what happens going forward in the future. I would say, next year being the last year of the current contract, we'll see what happens from there. So, but either way, all in all, from the inter-squad game to practice on holiday Monday, we said about it before, how the days changed. Who was dominating more than not? The defense really was dominating more on holiday Monday. I think at one point, Davis Alexander was picked off on 2 consecutive passes. But the thing is, though, it also included a highlight pick 6 by KB and Ento. So, I mean, it's funny. A lot of these guys the names that we know on this defense, they're having a quiet camp. But then you see with the things that happen, the things that happen when we're there, and to reassert that, yeah, I'm still here. You still have to, keep calm and KB on. I'm still going to be a part of this thing. So, and then the next day, we weren't at practice the next day on Tuesday, but Davis Alexander and the offense dominated. So as you're saying earlier, which we'll talk about the upcoming preseason game here in a minute, it's about time that they play somebody else besides themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Lorenzo Burns. My goodness, what? Now, we've talked about this ad nauseum as well. There always seems to be that one player that comes in and starts playing regular season games and just looks out of place, like a fish out of water. Just does not look like he belongs on this team. And you're to the point where you're scratching your head going, what is this guy doing here? Like, get him off the field. He doesn't have, whatever it is, he doesn't have it. But, and that was unfortunately Lorenzo Burns' filling in for injury in the latter part of the season last year. He just did not look out of place, and he was getting picked on, just like Ento, Wesley Sutton, Darius Pickett when he was here. Like those guys, they went through it and they found their way and ended up becoming absolutely phenomenal football players. And I have to say, I gotta give credit where credit's due. Again, I don't know what his offseason regimen was like. I don't know what moves he made, what kind of mindset he was in, or what happened during his offseason, but Lorenzo Burns is looking a lot better in 2025 than he did in 2024. And I got to give him props for that. He's playing that shutdown corner role very nicely, which we've both noted that, is absolutely crucial for this Alouette secondary. I mean, yes, Ento, he's going to do great things. And again, he was one of those guys too that we were giving him the gears for a while, but he won us over. He made the changes. Whatever he did, it absolutely worked, and he's become one of the better players on this football team, and even in this league, especially when it comes to in the secondary. Does Lorenzo Burns have the opportunity to do that here? Absolutely, he does. And is he taking advantage of it? I'm going to say yes. He's looking a lot more crisp. He's looking a little more dangerous. It's like he gets it now, which is great, and that's exactly what you want to see. So I know for myself, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him get some good, honest to goodness reps during these preseason games, and I will not be surprised if he ends up being the latest success story, if you will, for the Montreal Alouettes, and just that turnaround that has to be made. So, I got to tip my hat to him. He's doing a phenomenal job. I mean, that's not to say nobody else in the secondary isn't doing a great job, because there's a lot of really outstanding players there too. But again, I think if I'm going to give criticism, which is fair, I also have to give praise where it's due. And Lorenzo Burns has definitely been doing that so far in camp.
Yep, for sure. Before the ad read, just want to some news coming from us. It's something that people do know about. This is the Flightdeck's 10th anniversary season in broadcasting, and we want to say that yes, there is now officially all merchandise will be available over at flightdeckgear.ca, starting with there'd be. Starting with the shirts that you have seen Cliffy and I wear, it is now available on the shop. The 10th anniversary shirt is now available. Also, something that we try to come up with every couple of years is part of. It's funny. I think other media and pod organizations have kind of come up with their own type of stuff too. So I think they're copying us, but they're all coming up with their own, if merchandise. And I felt what better way to introduce this is to go to you, Cliff, because this unlike the other merchandise that I've come up with for our line of, if this was all on you. And I want you to go ahead and introduce everybody to this other bit of information, merch that is now available on the website.
Oh yeah, but first, really quick, for the people that are listening to the podcast as opposed to watching it on YouTube, it's our 10th anniversary or 10th broadcast season T-shirt with our 10th season logo on there, and it looks absolutely phenomenal. So yes, make sure you check that out. Now, as far as our "If You Know" line that Tim was talking about, we've been collaborating quite a bit with Austin Mack, wide receiver for the Alouettes. We've had him on the show a couple times. We interviewed him at Grey Cup. He's always been a bit of an integral part of this program, and he's believed in us too for the longest time. And we said we got to do something. We got to do something to show the love that Austin is showing to us. We got to show the love back to Le Big Mac. So I had this idea in mind, and I thought, okay, we got to do an absolutely outstanding T-shirt for Austin Mack, for the Austin Mack fans that are out there. And believe me, there are a lot of Austin Mack fans. You're starting to see those number 81 jerseys in the stadium, and don't be surprised if you see even more in 2025. So I came up with the idea of this T-shirt, and it's just simply the best way to capture Austin Mack in all of his glory. And when I think of Austin Mack,
tell me when to pull the curtain.
You know what? What better place than here? What better time than now? Now, for those people that are watching on YouTube, if you don't recognize that pose, that is his one-handed catch at the Grey Cup that he made, which some would say turned the tide for the Montreal Alouettes and leading them to win that Grey Cup in Hamilton 2 years ago. To me, that to me is the iconic Austin Mack pose, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the idea, let's incorporate that into like a sort of an homage to the NBA logo. And as you see, LBM, Le Big Mac, because he is Le Big Mac. And to me, like when this came together, I thought, yeah, I think Austin is going to, I hope Austin appreciates what we've done with this. So after the intra squad game, as we mentioned, we were able to speak with quite a few of the players, including one Austin Mack. And I said, you remember we talked about this? You know, I mentioned to him that we wanted to do something. We wanted to collab and do a little something. And I said, I got something to show you. Well, first I asked him, what's your t-shirt size? So he told me, and I happened to reach into my backpack and I pulled out this beauty, the one that he's currently rocking. And his reaction is nothing short of, you know, excitement, joy. You know, just he was geeked. And that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping he'd be looking at this, be like, "Oh my god, that is fire," as the kids say. And you tell me, Tim. Would you say it was a fair assessment of how his reaction was to seeing?
Yeah, for him, my thing that stuck out to me is that it's his new pregame shirt. Because if anybody remembers that Mac's been wearing, and a lot of the team actually have been wearing these pregame shirts they've made up, and for him to put this into his rotation, you know, there's no better type of approval than just that. So
absolutely. So if he's going to be rocking that on game day as he goes out for his warm-ups, oh my, that's exciting. And ladies and gentlemen, we are thrilled to announce that yes, you too can own your very own version of the Le Big Mac shirt. As you can see right there, I mean, it's go to flightdeckgear.ca. You know, I'm so happy the way this came together. I'm so happy that Austin has given it his blessing, his stamp of approval. And now, if you are an Austin Mack fan, and if you're not, then what the hell's wrong with you? Go out and get this shirt. Get our 10th season shirt as well. I mean, there's all sorts of great stuff on flightdeckgear.ca. Make sure you check it out. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the shirt to be seen in 2025.
And along with that, with the launch of our 10th season shirt and the new LBM shirt, the Big Mac shirt, we have a special promo code for the next 2 weeks. If you use the code LBM10 at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order.
There you go. No excuses. So go out, get the shirt. Get it now. Order it now. I mean, if you play your cards right, you might get it in time for the home opener. So once again, flightdeckgear.ca. You can't miss it. Le Big Mac. There you go.
That's right. Don't forget, we are on social media. There are multiple places where you can find us. If you want to find our entire archive, you can head over to alouettesflightdeck.ca. That includes not only every single show of Flight Deck Live, but it also includes now the audio version of Flight Deck. The Alouettes Flight Deck podcast, and you can also find Flight Deck Live, all the last couple of episodes of Flight Deck Live. We are also on X and Blue Sky, and that's at Alouettes FL Deck. On Facebook, over at Alouettes Flight Deck Pod, and over on Instagram and YouTube, that's over at Alouettes Flight Deck. Speaking of YouTube, make sure that you do check us out there. Make sure you like, subscribe. Thank you for all of you. We're finally over the 200 subscriptions, and we're really thank you for that. Can't wait to get 250 and more. You can find all of the audio podcasts, but also you can find the main thing is the video broadcast of the Alouettes Flight Deck podcast, and also every single version of our post game show, Flight Deck Live. All those can be found there. Also, we do want to thank our presenting sponsor in Royal Retros, where if you go to royalretros.com and use the code Flight Deck at checkout, you will save 10% off your order. Um,
And as always,
yeah,
folks, if you like the show, tell a friend, tell a coworker, tell everybody. If you don't like the show, tell us. Again, we want you to get the word out. We want you to really help us promote this channel, promote this podcast, wherever, however you're consuming the Flight Deck. Make sure you let each and everybody that you know about us as well. We definitely appreciate and love all the support.
exactly. Wanted to talk about this a little bit more in detail, but we're going to hold off on it. As everybody knows, the league announced the rule changes for the 2025 season. There's an upcoming session with the Football Reporters of Canada and the media, and we're looking to get a little bit of clarification on some of the rule changes so that we can give you more of an idea of some of the ones that we have a couple more questions on. So just we want you to stay tuned for those. I do understand that the league announced it when they did earlier on. I think it was late last week, but still stay with us as we can get some more clarification on these rules, because we're not the only ones, to be honest with you, that have had a few questions about one or two of these particular rules. We just want some clarification on them. So stay tuned.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the CFL higher ups are going to apparently be a part of this, I guess, powwow or meeting session or whatever you want to call this, to help hopefully shed some light on some of it and maybe clear up some of the confusion. Because as you said, there are a lot of people who are like, what does this mean? And even trying to talk to some of the people, like even on the Alouettes administration themselves, and they're not too certain of how to explain it. So maybe to hear it from the Canadian Football League themselves, to get that proper clarification so that we can let you, the fans, know what to expect in 2025. That we're going to be here for you guys in that regards.
Yeah, exactly. So game is on Saturday at 4 p.m. over at Percival Molson Stadium between the Owls and the Ottawa Red Blacks. The rain, potentially cold weather. This is not May. This is not May. Like you joked in Flight Deck Live. Are we sure this isn't October, November?
Could have fooled me.
Yeah, but either way, football's back at Percival Molson Stadium. That's really all that matters. And we get to see, I'm sure a lot of these players have been jonesing to hit somebody else, and they'll finally get that chance to do so.
Oh, definitely. And don't forget, Ottawa too. They've got a lot of young players that are going to want to make an impact and show themselves, prove themselves against, the Alouettes. So as much as people talk about, well, preseason games don't count. Like, no, they don't count in the standings. There you go. Win or loss in that sense doesn't matter to the overall team, but make no mistake, these are not meaningless games. I mean,
right.
For players that are fighting for a job, for players that want to prove that they belong on this team, best believe this is a meaningful game. And yeah, you're going to see the starters. They're going to probably play for a series or two, and then they're going to, step aside and let some of the younger players, the more unknown players, get a chance to showcase what they're able to do. That's the thing with the first preseason game is typically you do tend to see a lot more of the lesser known players, just simply for the idea of the coaching staff wants to see what these guys can do. The general manager wants to see what these guys can do. Like, did they make the right move in bringing these guys to camp or not? So they want to see what these guys can do in a true football atmosphere. And that's what you're going to get this Saturday, because it is being played at Percival Molson Stadium. It is definitely an honest to goodness football game. And these guys, this is their opportunity to showcase what they can do. They may get limited reps, so you better believe that these guys are going to take whatever reps they get, and they got to make the most of them. If they want to be a member of this organization, they got to ball out as much as they can, even if they only get one or two opportunities, one or two series to get out there and showcase what they can do. Then you got to make the most of those opportunities, as limited as what they are. And Ottawa is going to be doing the exact same thing as well. They too have players that want to showcase what they can do. One player in particular that you folks here at the Flight Deck will know about, and I have every reason to believe he will be in Montreal to hopefully get a chance to play, is one King Ambers, who we interviewed on this podcast. He too, he wants to prove that he belongs on the team. Like, even though he was an 8th round pick, I mean, you'd be amazed how many 8th round picks turn into something special in this league. And I personally believe he has the opportunity, and he's got the talent and the ability to do so. He just needs to get out in the field and do his thing. So it's funny, even though he's on Ottawa, I'm still going to be looking forward to seeing what he can do and seeing how he's been. But ultimately, it's about seeing what the Alouettes, what their depth is like. And that's what's going to keep my interest throughout the game, and hopefully yours as well. So, I mean, this is not a meaningless game. All this to say, this is not a meaningless game by any stretch of the imagination. It just doesn't count in the standings. That's the best way to describe it. So whether the Alouettes win, lose, or tie, it doesn't matter. It's really about the evaluation. It's really about seeing what kind of depth is there behind the starters and seeing who can be potentially backups on this team, who could be a member of the practice roster, or who will ultimately be shown the door.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. As you said, it doesn't count in the standings, but it's just football back at Percival Molson Stadium. I think that's all that really matters. So, and I think even though is there an official tailgate that they're having? If I'm not mistaken, because
Yes.
I know there is a tailgate that is happening, and it's only a preseason game. So, again, remember what I was saying about didn't mind. This is one of the few preseason games I don't actually mind paying for. There you go.
That's it. I mean, that's the thing. And guess what? It's still Saturday afternoon. It's still Canadian football.
There you go.
It's still a chance to get to the stadium. You know, if you're a season ticket holder, go. You haven't been in your seat your season seat since the Eastern Final last year. So make sure everything's still good. I know that's what I'll be looking forward to. Make sure nobody's trying to defoul my spot or anything like that. So, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. I'm definitely looking forward to being back in the stadium. Looking forward to seeing all of our friends, seeing all the fans, and hopefully we get a good turnout, even if the weather is looking iffy right now. But I'm hoping the Alouettes do definitely get a good turnout, and everybody comes and just gets excited for this upcoming season. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. This is like the show before the show, if you will. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't already, get your tickets and definitely make sure you're at Percival Molson Stadium this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
And for whatever reason, if you can't come, the game is going to be broadcast on CFL Plus, and it will be broadcast on RDS in French. But yeah, it's going to be fun. And I will admit, everything that we've seen with camp, we got to see a little bit more camp than we did last year. It's going to be interesting, and it's always fun to watch. Again, it's different. Watching preseason games, as Cliff will attest to, and I'm sure will agree with me, that this is a little bit different than the regular season, because you actually get to see some of these guys actually play that you may not see, who may not be ones, et cetera, for the rest of the year. And for this too, also, is that make sure you do watch our socials or check the Alouettes website whenever it comes out. But the depth chart I'm sure will be announced on Friday. So stay tuned, because that will be very interesting to see who is going to be playing for the Alouettes that Saturday afternoon. So stay tuned for that.
And I don't want to belabor a point too much, but we talk about the unknown players. Let's not forget, there was a time, 2022, Davis Alexander was considered one of those nobodies. You didn't know who he was. But as I recall, he had an absolutely phenomenal football game, especially at Percival Molson Stadium. I believe it was the second preseason game where he came in the fourth quarter and basically led the comebacks, letting the Alouettes win that game on a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal drive. And it was there that we saw the potential. Okay, this kid has something. It's just a matter of how much of an opportunity is he going to get to learn and grow and practice and all that. And it took a little while. It's clear the Alouettes believed in him, because they kept bringing him back. They wanted to make sure he was still very much a part of this team. And look where he is now. He was patient. He bided his time. He did the things he was supposed to do, as an unknown player. And look where he's progressed to now. Now he's QB1, leading this Alouettes team. And nobody thinks he's out of place. Nobody thinks he doesn't belong. There's no question that he has earned each and every opportunity that's been given to him. And he's definitely taken everything that was given to him and made the most of it. And if any of these prospective players are watching this or listening to this podcast, that's how you got to do it. Just follow Davis's example, as far as put your nose to the grindstone, make the most out of every rep you get, and just stay ready and make sure you are ready to go. That's the
Yeah.
best. If I could offer any advice, that would be it. And that's, again, yet another reason why you, the fans, should be paying attention to the preseason games as well. Because, again, 2022, you didn't know Davis Alexander from a hole in the wall. Now he's your quarterback. Is there somebody on this team that you could say, hey, maybe in the future it'll be this guy or that guy? And when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, I remember watching that game. And yeah, he played pretty good. And well, now he's a superstar in this league. So it all starts it really starts in training camp, but also it's the preseason where these stars start to bloom, start to grow, and start to become something. So by all means, be paying attention. Whether you're at the stadium or watching on TV or CFL Plus, make sure you tune into this game.
Yeah, make sure you do come by and say hey to us. We'll be on our normal sections, but also make sure you check all of our socials, as we will be there for Flightdeck Live post game there at Percival Molson Stadium. So it'll be our pleasure to talk about the game post game for you guys then. So other than that, the preseason's not over, and I think Cliffy and I have a couple of more sessions. The first time in a while. First time for me, actually, spending more time at camp than I actually have, I think, in any single year. But this will be the year. Check out our socials. If you're at camp, we're at camp. Make sure you come by and say hey. But other than that, we're really looking forward to the game on Saturday, because Cliff, football is back. Football is back. It hasn't gone anywhere, but let's say Canadian football is back, and that's all. That's the fun part of saying it. So again, make sure you head over to flightdeckgear.ca and check out all the new merch. And again, the code to save 10% is LBM10. That will save you 10% off your entire order. So we'll talk to you guys soon. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.